Greetings! It is I, HtR Van Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue my discussion on Hunter the Reckoning in the World of Darkness. We last left off, we've been diving into the creeds. Today, I'm going to give you the last of the creeds, and then we're going to start diving into character creation in general. So the last creed I want to talk to you about today, the last creed in general, is the Visionary. Or as they're known, Visionaries. A pretty simple one there. They're of the virtue of vision. They are, in fact, their only common creed of vision. The other two creeds of vision I talk about are the lost ones, the more unusual ones that, if they do appear, it is very rare, if ever. That's why vision is an important one to talk about. Now, vision is unique because they have a perspective on what's going on. This means they oftentimes look towards the big picture a lot. They like to see the big picture of the planning and the purpose of the hunt overall. Granted, they will be there for you and be a planner or a advisor when it comes to actually going on hunts. Their plans, their tactics are excellent when it comes to actually going on the hunt. But overall, they like looking at why they're doing the hunt. What's the purpose, the plan overall of all of the hunts combined. They're big picture players a lot. But their small picture work is always great because their edges give them abilities and insights that can actually help them when it comes to planning out proper tactics in a hunt. They just traditionally like looking beyond that day-to-day kind of hunt the monster, kill the monster, find out where the next monster is kind of stuff. That's not normally their focus. Now, there is some problems that can arise in a visionary because of their own nature with this big picture. For one thing, sometimes they can lose sight of that big picture and begin focusing on small stuff. Now, generally, focusing on small details can't be too bad, but the problem is when they start focusing on details which are unimportant, seemingly crazy, strange details, things that are very unimportant. They begin to distract themselves more and more and lose sight of that big picture, focusing on things that they shouldn't focus on. Even sometimes when you move on to that small scale, focusing on the correct thing helps, and if you don't, well, then you're just facing a little bit of trouble. Now, another problem with that they can face is addiction. The fact is that many visionaries try to look into the mysteries of their universe in a way, the monsters themselves, why they were imbued, all these other questions, the various mysteries of hunters. They try to look into them, and sometimes, to get a new angle, they turn to, mind-altering substances, because they allow you to dive deeper into your own mind in a way and see things at a different angle. Get a vision of something that then you can bring back to the surface and try to interpret a little bit more of what's in the universe around you and all these questions that they have about themselves and the situation they're in. The problem can be, of course, these things tend to be, of course, addictive. And using sparingly is not something that is something more encouraged if you're going to attempt this route to kind of get your insights. Moderation, but it's a problem that some don't. Now, the worst problem, I would say, is those visionaries that look to the hunt and eventually come to a decision that it's best not to hunt. They're called traitors. Now, traitors is a difficult word, though, because they're not really traitors to the hunt. They're just saying, it's best that we don't hunt. These are folks that, through their own insights, through their own views of what's going on, have looked upon the hunt and said, we don't need to be doing this. That's what they've determined in their large-scale planning, that this is unimportant. This is unneeded for everything that's being planned out. And coming to that situation, again, it's a combination of what they've seen and their own ideologies they're bringing in, but some hunters, some visionaries see this, and other non-visionaries don't tend to like this, hence why the term for them. So it is important that when you come to a decision that sometimes that decision is inaction. You be careful with the way you say it if you are a visionary. When you say, we shouldn't act now, make sure it's facing all your friends. You don't have someone like an Avenger behind you who would probably be really pissed off. And you make sure to show them that it's not that you don't want them to act ever. Something they might be looking out for is that you want them to wait. And inaction right now is important. There's a distinction here that attempting to get across can be very important in the long run, especially for your health. Now, when it comes to imbuing, visionary stories are wide. They have a huge variety of different stories of imbuing. And the fact is that visionaries love to share their tales of imbuing because there's one common thread between all of them, that each of them has come up with some kind of ingenious way in order to get through the circumstance, get through whatever they encountered, whether defeating the creature or saving the people or whatever. It's all a grand, excellent plan that they somehow came up with in this heat of the moment. That's the theme between all of them. That's one of the things that we get into when we're talking about traits. High intelligence is one of the more important things that a visionary can have. Granted, you don't need a high intelligence. A visionary could have an average intelligence and just a high manipulation to make themselves seem like they're smarter than they are. Both are circumstances that basically intelligence usually goes to planning. So either seeming like you're the smart guy or being the smart guy are important in this case. Having a good leadership and expression are both ways that you can not only have everybody follow your plans, but also express your plans properly. These are helpful to your character overall. Then maybe having high science or occult. The fact is, having all the information and maybe knowing something that you can use to interpret this is very important. Science is one way of going about this. Occult is the other way. Sometimes you might find the rare visionary that's highly skilled in both of these, that somehow mastered some of both science and occult and can use them together. Those are usually some of the more potent visionaries when it comes to their plans. You might want to keep a lookout for one of those. Now, a conviction that they start with is 3. Now let's move on and talk a little bit about character creation. And when we want to talk about character creation, we have to talk about what kind of game Hunter really is. Now, on the surface, when we look at Hunter, it's about a bunch of people fighting monsters. A bunch of ordinary folks awakening to a situation that they have to fight against this oncoming tide of darkness to keep it at bay, to keep the light going, keep people safe, kill the monster, save the day. That is a very surface look about what Hunter is. What Hunter really is about human condition, about humanity and facing against some things in you. It's about your character and their inner struggles. Think about it this way. Whoever you're going to be playing has their normal life, whatever you're going to determine it is. And at one point in time, they learn that everything that they ever learned about this life is a lie. There are so many levels to this lie, to the lies about what's going on. But the deepest, the strongest, the worst one of them all is that big old lie. Monsters are real. People lying about their existence, and they are everywhere. How would your person react to this? How would you react to coming to this revelation that monsters are real and all the way around you? How would it affect how you look at other people, your trust of other people, how you react to the world, who you can talk to turn to talk about what you've just learned, what you're feeling? There are so many emotions involved in it, and the evolution of your character based upon these revelations in the world around you that will drive them. And this is the most important aspect of your character and how this game is going to be played. That revelation on what the world is and how it affects you. And that is why this game is about humans and the human condition. All right. Let's talk about making a character. So your character is effectively going to be your version of you within a story, within a play, within a movie. The character that you will take on in this circumstance. You are the actor, and Your character is the part you'll be playing, the part you'll be developing. You have to think of it that way. And your goal in this case is to develop this character, this role that you're doing through your decisions, to come up with various concepts, to have traits that define them, and put these together to create something that you're going to be putting into this world, and in the course of this world, develop into an actual literary force, that it evolves. It adds itself to having a personality, an essence to it, a way it will act. You are developing yourself in this world in a way, but it isn't yourself like you, it's yourself, the role you're taking on in this role. You are going to use traits, your character sheet, to define what your concept is in this world and allow for proper interactions in this world. And that's what we should talk about, traits. You're going to have all kinds of attributes, abilities, special abilities, all kinds of things that will help define what your character is from the concept that you determined originally and you came up with. These are your traits. Traits are what you're going to use when it comes to the actual game part of this entire thing. They are normally numbered from 1 to 5, though certain traits will be numbered from 1 to 10. I'll talk about the difference between them in the end. But you have to consider that these traits that you're going to be putting down are the numbers, are the statistics that you are going to use in order to determine dice rolls. As simple as that. I'm moving from concept to traits to dice rolls. And dice rolls will determine the random outcome of what's happening here. So easily you can see that there is a line of logic here. You can easily move from what I'm coming up with as my character, as my role in this world, to rolling it and see how it does stuff, how it reacts. But that's it for today. So I dove into, of course, the last of the creeds, the Visionary, and talked all about them. And then I moved into some basics when it comes to your character concept, what you have to be thinking about when you're creating it, and what your traits are. In the next episode, we're actually going to be starting to dive into the process of making your character. That's going to be an important one. Now that we know that we're going to need some kind of concept and some kind of bunch of traits, let's talk about putting those traits together from your concept onto your sheet, your little piece of paper, which is defining you, which you'll be using then for your dice rolls. All a big process. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day. If you've ever played a Visionary for the Creeds, or you've made an interesting character that you had a really crazy concept with from Hunter, why don't you let me know in the comments below? I love hearing your stories about role-playing games. Regardless, though, until the next time, I bid you farewell.